Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com. Welcome to the Post-Raw Show, number 129. We got another doozy of a show to talk about. I mean, what is there really to say anymore about what WWE is doing to Monday Night Raw and wrestling as a whole? It's not even wrestling. They hate wrestling. The performers that they hired, they like wrestling. They work really hard to try to overcome the atrociousness that they're being booked for. But man, there's just like tonight. They advertised 5 matches heading into tonight. They had a Hell in a Cell match on tonight's show. There were 6 matches on the show, all of them of consequence. I'm extremely happy about that. Extremely happy about that. But it's one show, and there's just still so many holes that it's like, yes, like there were some things to celebrate. But wow, the things that are bad are really, 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 really bad. This Alexa Bliss Fiend stuff is just it's unwatchable. It's unbearable how bad it is. You can't put it into words. It's beyond. It's just beyond. People are like, "Oh, gee, Mike, I'd hate to see what you thought of The Undertaker and Kane and Papa Shango." It's like, well, Papa Shango is a character that's remembered and renowned for how bad it was. So bad that they phased that character out pretty quickly. Undertaker and Kane, yes, that was material in a landscape of larger-than-life figures, of course. But let's not forget that the Undertaker and Kane angle, or the Undertaker angle in general, went so far that Mark Calloway himself wanted to change it. And when he got injured, when he tore his pec off the bone in September 1999, he came back after almost a year of being gone as the American Badass, totally reinvented himself because he was done with that gimmick. It was going too far. He was done with it. Here, like, everybody's like, "Oh, well, they're going back on the road. 3 more weeks of the ThunderDome, and they're back on the road. Then it's Money in the Bank, and they'll have fans back, and the fans will finally be able to tell WWE that this stuff is horrible. It's terrible. That it's going to change everything." You sure about that? It wasn't like the Fiend and Alexa Bliss that happened during the pandemic, but it wasn't like the Fiend was this brand new thing that just happened because they could do camera tricks and pre-tapes during the pandemic. They went all in on that gimmick. SummerSlam 2019. What a great debut. One of the best debuts for a gimmick that I had maybe ever seen. There was a lot of really interesting things that they did there. It's like Bray Wyatt, letting this alter ego come out. That's just like, an extension of the pain that he had felt because of missed opportunities and poor usage in the company. And he's finally letting his anger, he's channeling it into this character. But no. Vince had to get creative on it. And then we get the Fiend. He had 1 match at SummerSlam. Then he comes back in October 2019. His second match as the character. Rollins in the Hell in a Cell, which killed forever for good the Hell in a Cell gimmick. It's just never recovered from that. And with the red lights and the crowd just crapping all over the entire thing. And that should have been enough. That should have been enough to say, okay, we're going to back away from this. No, instead they go to Saudi Arabia, give Wyatt the title. And even the Saudi Arabians, who are starved for wrestling and paid a lot of money to get this company over there to give them, a version of, poor man's WrestleMania, didn't like the match. They got tired of it. And the red light killed the whole entire thing. But they gave him the championship. They were going all in on Wyatt way before this, and I don't think that any crowd is going to get them to deviate from their path. I think they think they're doing a great job. That's the scary part. I think that what they've done to the women's division, just 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago, they had an entire pay-per-view dedicated to women's wrestling, all women's matches. Look at this. Look at the state of the division now. You can't. It's the storylines aren't even. You can't even follow them. It's like, oh, don't use logic in wrestling, but can I at least employ a little bit of sense when I'm trying to watch a television show? Bruce Pritchard has been in his role as the lead booker for a year now. I think it's a year this week. And everybody's like, oh, Paul Heyman booked it into the ground. What show are you watching? He was trying to build up new characters. Vince got tired because Vince is ADHD and just can't wait for things to get built up. So he got rid of Heyman. Was Heyman doing a spectacular job? Meh. It was way better than this. Way better. Bruce Pritchard's been here for a year now. Yes, pandemic has caused people to go away, but they've put a lot of money into the Thunderdome to try to get people back, and the people have not come back. I wonder why. Can you blame the pandemic for everything? Well, I'm going to bring in my co-host here. Victoria is done dealing with Liliana, and we're going to talk about this. Everybody, say hello to Victoria.
Wait.
You can't mute yourself, can you? Okay, there we go.
I did mute myself.
There we go. You're on.
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
say hi.
Hi. Can everyone hear me, though?
Yeah, they hear you fine. You just left your speakers on.
I didn't leave my speaker on, though.
I guess it was a mystery feedback. So, this show. Jeff, what do you have to say? It's crazy.
It is crazy. Listen, I don't know how many times we can say the same thing over and over and over again about this whole ordeal. I think we just kind of have to accept the fact that this is the direction that they're going in with everything. And I think that, unfortunately, we're not going to be able, nothing is going to change. I said this a while ago. I feel like, when the fans do come back, people will watch just because of a curiosity factor and just like a normalcy type thing. But I don't necessarily know that, they'll kind of do what they always do with when they have like Legends Night or things like that. Or when like USA Networkers like, oh, I don't like what you're doing right now. Like do this and blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. With the whole Hell in a Cell thing. But and which we'll talk about in a few moments. But I think that overall, you'll maybe get like 2, maybe 3 weeks worth of like viewership. And again, not like astronomical numbers. Like you're not going to get this huge influx of people, but I think curiosity. And I think that people just in general looking for some sort of normalcy, especially who have been watching the entire time during the pandemic, will watch, but then they're going to go back to their usual shtick. So they'll try for a little bit, give, those kind of like little moments that like, oh yeah, it's cool. But then it's all of a side and then it's going to go back to its regular programming.
I don't
know.
I don't see them trying. Where do you see them trying?
I don't see them trying. What I'm saying is like when you get fans back though, they may a little bit try for like the first couple weeks.
They'll hotshot some stuff and get people excited,
but they're not going.
But
they're not going to continue with it. Is what I'm saying.
They'll make a big deal. They'll make a big deal to get like Goldberg in for SummerSlam or something like that. Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley, or I don't think I mean this is a statement that might not age well, but I don't think Brock Lesnar is coming back for SummerSlam. I don't know if Brock Lesnar comes back at all, but we'll see. We'll see.
It really kind of depends.
Like Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns could be really cool at Survivor Series if they keep the belt on Lashley that long. But like my point is they'll do something exciting to get people into it. But like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they think that their big excitement card is to give us Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam.
I don't disagree with that at all.
I think they have gone so balls deep on this on this Fiend Alexa Bliss stuff, regardless of the feedback, regardless of any semblance of wrestling knowledge or knowledge of the genre. They're trying to reinvent this thing.
I think that for me, here's the thing with
good question, Daniel Shale.
Actually I was going to bring up that comment. I don't think anybody like Brock Lesnar, John Cena is coming back into this environment. I hate to say it, but it's just WWE is not cool right now. Not that it not that it's always been like in the past few years, like, oh yeah, it's awesome, whatever. But there's always been some sort of like, excitement towards like your bigger pay-per-views, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, that sort of thing. You did get kind of people who don't watch regularly to at least watch those pay-per-views and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's just not cool right now. You're not getting these intense like need for it at this point. So why would somebody like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, your really big names even touch this product right now? They don't need to. And the truth is like, and really at the end of the day, if you're going to get somebody like those, it has to be a lot of money involved. Money that they obviously do not have to spend. So really at the end of the day,
spend it, though.
They will, but they won't at the same time, because you can beg all you want, but if they're not willing to come back, they're not going to like keep fighting it. So I just think there has to be some sort of momentum going again. They have to at least get to the point where they were pre-pandemic. and that
was a bad place to be.
It was, but they have to at least get to that point.
Think about this. They were trying to rebuild before the pandemic started. That's why that's what Paul Heyman was doing, was trying to rehab the entire division. He was trying to build up people that, had a good look and could go in the ring, and different types of characters. Aleister Black got the big push. Andrade, Zelina Vega, Angel Garza were getting the big push. Humberto Carrillo. Some of them worked out. Some of them didn't. He even tried his hand at Ricochet to try to get him going, but that's like trying to get a cinder block to be interesting.
But you know what though? People are saying in the chat right now that it was crap beforehand. I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. I'm not disagreeing with that.
I was in the middle of making your point. Yeah.
But the only thing I will say is this though. You still had it was consistent shit. That's great and dandy here, but it was still consistent, and you still had a crowd, and you still had certain things that they tried a little bit, maybe not the entire show or pay-per-views or whatever. Yeah, you weren't getting outstanding shows.
I'm telling you that they were in the middle of a rebuild.
I know they were in the middle of a rebuild.
That's why. That's part of the reason why it wasn't good.
I understand that. No, but I'm talking to people in the chat too who are.
Well, you should let me finish making your point, so I got to talk to them too here. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's the show, they put the brakes on the rebuild and just tried to go with, Bruce Pritchard comes in and they just go with what they've got and go back to their old tricks. They're using a roster that was half rehabbed and now trying to run with it. Without any building now. Now it's just like, oh, everybody's just like, you just know him. Here, get interested in this guy because we told you to. Get interested in Nikki Cross in a superhero outfit because we told you to.
Okay.
What?
I'm just saying. I know you're trying to build up my point, but you're really actually not getting my point, though.
Oh, then finish your point.
At the end of the day, because I'm saying,
what's your point?
Regardless of a rebuild or anything to that effect, there was still something to be said about the show before the pandemic. And yes, the crowds not being there had a lot to do with it. And there was a lot that was wrong with the company beforehand. However, there were still times where they were trying, even if it was crap. There were still times, and again, not maybe the entire show or the entire pay-per-view, but maybe there were some storylines that they were at least putting the slightest bit of effort into for like certain weeks.
Saying? I just said that for you. Yes, I know. It's like, but I mean, it's not like, but they're putting effort in now. That's the scary part. I actually think that this is the best that they can do.
I don't know if it's fully effort though. I really don't
think so.
No, I don't. I don't think it's fully effort.
You think that people are going to come back and they're just going to flip a switch and be good again?
I don't think they're going to flip a switch at all. That's not what I'm saying.
I think their best effort.
I think they'll flip a switch for maybe 2 weeks, 3 most.
No,
then they'll go back to the regular shit.
That's called a hot shotting.
Absolutely.
That's what they do. When Roman Reigns wasn't working out in 2015, they put 3 or 4 weeks worth of storylines into one night and had him beat Sheamus in Philadelphia for the title. That's what they do to get people talking. I don't even see them hot-shotting stuff.
I disagree with you. I think they'll hot-shot for a little bit. I do.
I think they should be hot-shotting now.
They should have been hot-shotting months ago.
Yes,
they should have been doing it months ago.
But let me finish here. The returns from tickets on the road are not good. So they should be doing it now to get people excited and interested.
No doubt.
They kind of did that a little bit tonight, but it's not like it's not in the way you would think. They put a Hell in a Cell match on the show. They put it on the show because USA Network was actually mad. Like USA Network used to be the bride. Having Monday Night Raw, that was the flagship show. Fox gets SmackDown, pays $1 billion for it, and all of a sudden, USA Network's not paying chump change for Raw, but they are not the concentration anymore. They're not. So they're getting all this good programming. Well, number one, it's good because it's 2 hours. There's a lot of problems on SmackDown. But it's 2 hours, so things don't have a chance to die like they do on Raw. And they die in an epic way on Raw. They just do. But it's 2 hours, and you can endure, a lot of bad stuff if it's one segment. But they make things fun. Like they have some good characters, they have some good writing. The morale seems to be up on that show. But SmackDown is that focus. They put a Hell in a Cell match on Friday. USA Network was pissed. USA Network has been desperate for WWE to do something. And I'm sorry, somebody said to me on Twitter, I'm not gonna be able to find it now. It's somewhere here, but they said, how do they, WWE has been staying afloat with their, their television contracts. So they're doing a great job. Those contracts were written in 2018. They were finalized in 2018 when there was still some competence being put into some storylines here. It's not the contracts that you have now. That's what people don't get. It's the stuff that comes in the future. It's the contracts of the future when you have to sit down at the table again and renegotiate, and you have whatever audience they had in 2018. They cut the average in half. They lost half of their viewership from what they had then, and before that they had lost about 1 million people. That's an issue. But now you have these companies, are not happy. USA Network is not happy with the WWE product. They have come up with multiple ways to try to get them jump started. Now, of course, USA Network doesn't truly understand professional wrestling. So a lot of their ideas are, one night events. Let's do a Legends night, like you were saying. Let's create the 24/7 title. That's gone. 24/7 title is gone. It hasn't been seen forever. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just angry just in general. And I just feel like, instead of trying, I'm trying to at least be a little bit optimistic here though. And again, I'm not saying fans coming back are going to be the be all end all, but I think the one thing that we have to kind of look forward to is everybody can, at least you have thousands of people or hundreds of people or whatever, if they're allowing people back in the arenas or whatever. At least we all can sit and enjoy it together. At least we're not going to be getting
who's enjoying this? Who's going to enjoy it? Who's going to enjoy it?
I'm just saying, at least we could be together in the fact that we all hate the product. At least you'll have real freaking fans showing that they like or they don't like something. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. So excuse me for being a little bit excited for fans coming back into the building.
Did I criticize you for saying?
No, you weren't criticizing, but you're trying to make it like.
I'm telling you that is not going to make a difference. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm not saying it's not going to make a difference, but it is. But you know what? It may for a little bit though. And you know what? For 2 weeks of
yes,
whatever,
for 2 weeks they're going to hot shot some stuff.
Fine.
It's not. But you think the fans come back is going to change them?
No.
I just went through the whole entire lineage of the Fiend character, where they had that thing going for 9 months or so before the pandemic happened, and it was shit. Like the fans booed the crap out of it.
No one's disagreeing with you, but at least the fact
I don't know what the argument here is.
The argument is that at least you're getting a real reaction. You're not getting this freaking pipe noise that they.
Oh no, they're going to pipe in noise. They piped in noise at WrestleMania.
They can do that, but you're still going to get an actual reaction from people.
You'll get an actual reaction. You might be able to see people in the front row going, "Oh, horrible," but they're going to mute the crowd noise and bring in their noise. You can do that on the broadcast.
You can do that, but they still can't hide it that much.
Yeah.
We're not stupid.
Yes, they think you are.
They think we are, but no doubt about that.
And you know what?
Who cares?
If you go on Twitter, they're right. Most of the people that watch this product are stupid. It's true. It's crazy. Like the things that people were trying to defend on Twitter tonight are inexcusable. Piper Niven. Oh, she's a big girl. Call her Dewdrop. Oh, who cares? Piper Niven. Who watches NXT UK? Some people do. Dewdrop. How about Eve Marie?
What about her?
Build her up for a month and a half. Bring her in as a heel with Dewdrop. And they break them up after a week. They're broken up. Like, what is going on in this company?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. But you have to understand this is where we're going, and this is what you just have to accept it, because it's not going to change.
I will not.
They will hot shot what they need to for a little bit, and then you're going back to the regular programming. And look, who's the idiots at the end of the day? We're all still friggin' watching it. So I don't know what to tell you. It is at this point. It is what it's going to be.
I know that's the scary part. But after a year of Bruce Pritchard's reign of terror, there are things that can be done.
Oh, there's 1,000,001 things that can be done. Will they do them? No.
But it's like, like I said, my immediate thought after the show was over was that Bruce Pritchard just got to go.
Oh, definitely.
But it's not going to do anything. Just like the fans coming back isn't going to do anything for this company. They hate their fans. They've loved this Thunderdome.
No. Vince McMahon hates their fans.
Yes, and because Vince McMahon is the company, by de facto, the company hates the fans.
Mm-hmm.
This Thunderdome has been a dream come true for him, that he can create his stupid fucking stories and not have to worry about the reaction. They're going to mute out the fans. They're going to zoom in on everybody in the ring when they don't get the reaction they want. So you can't see the people, and you're going to hear whatever noise they want you to hear. But damn, you get rid of Bruce Pritchard. Who's going to come in and replace him?
Next yes man.
Another yes man. It's really Vince that has to go at this point. And I don't, it's, we're about another year away from them getting to the negotiation table again and renegotiating their TV deals. I think it's about a year. And You know, Fox is mad at WWE for promoting Peacock on their network, which is an NBC property. They're not happy about that. USA Network thinks that they're putting all their effort into SmackDown on Fox, and they don't give a shit about Raw, which is clearly true.
Both companies, both programs have a point. They absolutely have a point.
Yeah,
they should not be promoting another streaming network on their show.
But that's their WWE network, so they
right.
They kind of have to do it.
But they also should not be, and they shouldn't be pissing off USA Network that much.
Vin with the big idea here. They thought that was going to turn it around. They thought Retribution having a Antifa faction would fix everything. That was the last time they even tried to hotshot stuff. That was a year ago. Since the last time they really tried all that stuff. There's no way that you can get rid of Vince. You can get rid of Bruce. There's no way. There's no recovering from what the damage that they've done to this company.
It's not even Bruce. It's
Bruce.
Bruce is a yes man. He'll just do whatever Vince McMahon says. So if Vince was gone and somebody else was in charge, Bruce is just going to follow along with whoever's telling him what to do. So it's at the end of the day, it's Vince. Yeah. That really, it was what it comes down to at the end of the day. And at this point, that's another thing. We have to just accept the fact that he is not going to leave on unless it's on his own terms. And he may never. Honestly, he might very well die with the company, which is sad because
he's certainly doing his part to kill the company, so it goes with him. I mean, it's just, you know, I can go through Raw tonight. It's it's almost like
I just don't think there's any incentive.
Prophecy, you know, it's like you go into the show thinking it's going to be bad, and it's bad.
There's no incentive for them, you know, because they have all these deals, and they have they still have USA, they still have Fox, they have Peacock now. Like, what
excited? They're not thinking of the future.
Oh, no doubt. But they like no incentive at all.
It's like people are like, oh well, they made the Peacock deal, and they're going to wind up selling WWE to Universal. Why would NBC Universal even want them? You know, like when they spat in their face, over the SmackDown thing. It's like, oh, Fox pays more money, so get fucked.
Who knows?
I like it's crazy. It's crazy. And Mr. V's bringing up a good point here. Heyman helps with SmackDown. That's part of the reason why SmackDown's any good. Heyman, when he was working with a complete commodity that didn't need to be built up in Brock Lesnar, it's genius stuff. People say they hate Lesnar and blah, blah, blah. People would kill to have Lesnar back right now. But he's working with a finished product in Roman Reigns, and he can just start creating storylines rather than having to build
up somebody. Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's doing a great job on SmackDown, helping out with the main event storyline because he doesn't have to worry about anything else. Bruce Pritchard's job is to build stars. Who has been built up successfully under Bruce Pritchard in a year? I
can't think of anybody.
Alexa Bliss.
She was already a name.
She was a name, but they rehabbed her with this gimmick.
Right, and that's not that wasn't successful. This is not a successful character.
This is a disaster. It's killing the genre of professional wrestling. It's like, yeah, I hate suicide dives. I hate I hate that they don't sell things. I hate that everybody has the same moveset. That stuff you can overcome, if you stop micromanaging everything so much. But this Alexa Bliss character is just it's just damaging. It's really, really, it's everybody having the same moveset, it just kind of hurts because you can't remember everything because everything just kind of bleeds into each other. But this is actually killing people's careers.
Well, it's dominating the entire women's division now.
It's killing their careers.
It's
killing
the
their
basis.
It's killing
of the division. And to think actually, truth be told here, it was dominating the regular superstars too, because when she was working with Randy Orton doing that horror deal, that was a primary focus also. So now it's mainly with the women's division, but it was a huge storyline just in general at one point, which did not help.
Right. And now she's got superpower after superpower. I had a breaking point tonight. I couldn't even recap it anymore. You know, like this thing where she stares at people now and she can hypnotize them to do what she wants them to do. She was going to have Reginald slap Nia Jax in the face, and then she put the brakes on, or whatever happened. Nobody could explain it because the commentators don't know what the fuck's going on. You know, you have Jimmy Smith saying powerbomb all on his back and miscalling moves, and it's just you know, you're just being assaulted everywhere with, you know, visually and audibly, you know, of just this drivel. You know, people going to this company to commentate and talking about how they have to relearn how to commentate to do it the WWE style.
That's sick.
It's insane.
That's actually sick. And I mean,
Don't
mentioned
talk about what's directly right in front of you.
You mentioned that last week about when we were talking about Mauro Ranallo and anybody else who's
Tom
been
Phillips.
Tom Phillips. People had to cater to the WWE commentary. It's a totally different way of doing things because you're not allowed to have a personality. You have to go basically word for word verbatim of what Vince is telling you to do in your ear. That's no way to commentate.
Right.
I mean, you're stifling people just in general. You're stifling your commentators. You're stifling your superstars because you're giving them scripted promos, scripted segments to the word, to the T. They have to say things. Their commentators are the same thing. Referees are not allowed to have personalities, not even allowed to be involved at all. They're just there as props, essentially, to drive matches or whatever. Honestly, I can come up with, and we're only focusing on like major issues. There's a lot of other issues involved, but we would be here. That would be a podcast, honestly, for like 5 hours. And that's not even an exaggeration at this point. They have some seriously deep issues that they are not going to fix anytime soon. And I always go back to that point of it takes no time at all to destroy something, but it takes a lot more time to build something back up. And if they don't have the motivation, I think it was before who said it, because I agree with them, and I've been saying this all along too. Was it Brian? I don't know if it was Brian or not. Somebody said before that they have absolutely already have their money. There is no need for them to work any harder than they have to. And again, I use work hard very in like quotes because they're not working hard. They're really not putting in effort. They're writing stories as they go along, as the show goes on, right? It's just no way to run a business. You know, listen, I'm a firm believer in adaptation. Like if you have to adapt things and adjust things because something's not working, by all means. And what's really weird is that these individuals who've run a company for so long, right? Particularly Vince McMahon, who's sustained, a good amount of time as a businessman, right? But the fact that he's not putting the balance between short-term goals and long-term goals. You really do have to have those both coexist in the same fashion because the company does not, it thrives on that. Because if you have a long-term goal and then you kind of start, fulfilling those storylines and getting those things out there, but then you're looking at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's not working. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you have to be short-term in the sense of you have to see and adapt and adjust things as needed, but you have to have some sort of like goal in mind to what you are attaining and what you want to like work towards.
Well, that's what Paul Heyman had. He had ideas and thoughts for, every person on the roster. Now, There was some things that I absolutely hated on the Paul Heyman with the Maria Kanellis crap and the turning, trying to find like someone to turn into a cuck. Like Rusev was a cuck for a while.
And the Lashley Lana thing.
I mean, that was like trash stuff, but that's like, that's like that classic wrestling stuff, where it's like, okay, we're going to get a big rating, getting,
Right.
doing a wrestling wedding and stuff like that and doing something outrageous. That's what wrestling's predicated on, outrageousness, that's taking something that we all know, a wedding, so like something, happy like that and turning it into some kind of like, sideshow thing. Like that nobody can relate to fucking voodoo. But, you think about the people that were built up under Paul Heyman when he came on in June or July of 2019. To where he had about a year there. He built up Drew McIntyre into a force, had him win the Royal Rumble, did the Brock Lesnar thing where Brock entered the Rumble and then he got eliminated by McIntyre.
But at least he had a goal in mind.
He had a goal in mind. I'm not done yet. They built him up really, really well, and because of what Paul Heyman did for Drew McIntyre, they were able to run with him as the champion for almost this entire pandemic before they, Vince got cold feet and, put the title on Lashley. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to, put the title on Lashley because he's a big guy. That's just what, Vince likes that stuff. And we'll put the title back on Drew at WrestleMania. And it's like, well, Lashley's doing really well. So we'll, now we have to work our way out of this. Look where Drew McIntyre is now. Somebody had a hilarious quote tonight, and I just want to I want to read it. I think it was the guy from Forbes, but he basically said that they've taken here it is Alfred Kanua from he writes for Forbes about professional wrestling, that they are turning. I have to find this because it was actually just so spot on. Anyway, I'll paraphrase it for you, that they're turning, because like, they've had McIntyre lose opportunity after opportunity, he keeps getting more opportunities. They said that he said that they've turned Drew McIntyre from this star that could actually get people to tune in and was cutting great promos. Now he's quoting tonight. He quoted Winston Churchill. Last week, he's talked about William Wallace. And before that, he's talked about some other Scottish king. And he's turned into Hillary Clinton in 2008, where she can't accept that she's lost to, a black man and just keeps running. It's like they've turned McIntyre into the guy that can't accept that he lost to this black man and Bobby Lashley. It's like the weirdest, like they've totally ruined him. He's being turned into a whiny little bitch.
So easy again.
It's
to
so
ruin
easy
something.
to undo so much hard work and goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Do you think the prime reason for that though is because Heyman is more focused on SmackDown, obviously, with
Heyman
Roman
has nothing
Reigns?
to do with the product anymore. He has nothing to do at all with the product.
So because he hasn't been involved now for quite some time, right? But Drew McIntyre did have a lot of momentum for a while. I'm just saying, like, where do you think that happened? That major shift, like whose call was that, or just that was just kind of like the nature of the lack of direction from Heyman? Like, do you think think it had an expiration? Is what I'm saying, because it only can sustain for so long.
It's like, yes, everybody cools off, and Drew McIntyre was kind of he was kind of cooling down a little bit, but it really, the shift happened when there's no other main eventers on Raw. So there's only, you can only have Drew face Lashley, and they had to try to build somebody up real quick in Kofi Kingston. But again, and Drew McIntyre is getting another shot at the title. He's going to be put into, he had a Money in the Bank qualifying match tonight, which he lost, but now next week again, he's getting another, last chance match to get into Money in the Bank. Because if he doesn't get into Money in the Bank, what the hell are you going to do with Drew McIntyre? What's next for him?
Yeah.
So you have to put him in Money in the Bank, just to give him something to do, because they have no plans for the guy now. How does the guy go from being champion and on top of the show to no plans?
Must be Monday.
Must be Bruce Pritchard. He stinks.
He's terrible. I hate his podcast. I really do.
I don't listen to him. I'm unsubscribed.
It gets worse and worse.
I will not listen to that man. I will not listen to him. He's an idiot. And he's a fool. But anyway, we kind of spent some time shitting on this, shitting on the overall product. The show itself was okay. It was the wrestling that was really good, but goddamn, when they started telling stories, it got bad. It got really, really bad. How they tried to explain away the women's match last night at Hell in a Cell. With this, Rhea Ripley gets disqualified for hitting her with a piece of the commentary table when she was clearing it off. Meanwhile, they had used steps earlier. So how are the steps not a weapon, but clearing off the commentary table and grazing her with the table is a DQ?
That always drove me nuts. That always drove me nuts.
But it's like they spend no time ever talking about rules. And then, Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are explaining, how a DQ works and saying that, what's her face? I don't even what's the Raw champion's name again? Rhea Ripley. She's such a non-factor. I can't even remember.
That's really sad. That's very, very sad.
She's such a non-factor.
Oh, man.
Anyway, they said that you broke the rules numerous times, or you broke the rules, you're abusing the rules. And she goes, well, Charlotte Flair broke the rules all the time. So Charlotte Flair comes out and says, oh, I'm impressed by you. You're much more thoughtful now, but I'm still going to destroy you. And Sonya Deville goes, well, it sounds like you want a rematch, so I'll give you one at Money in the Bank. Of course you are. There's nobody else. There's no other women on the roster.
There's literally no other option at this point.
There's no other options. The rest of them are going to be in Money in the Bank or facing Alexa fucking Bliss. It's like, come on. Like, and Rhea Ripley, like that storyline. This storyline is just atrocious. Like the way they explain that away just to get another month out of this miserable feud.
So miserable.
Charlotte Flair is unbearable.
And I can't even say just put the kibosh on it, because it's like,
and it's got nothing to do with Charlotte Flair, the person. No. I should say that for all the white knights out there, you fucking idiots. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the drivel that they're giving her.
Yes.
It's unbearable.
Yes.
It's not good heat. It's bad heat.
It's bad heat. Really bad. Really, really bad.
And Rhea Ripley is getting killed by this. And you know what Rhea Ripley's reaction to that was? To smile. That's all they ever do. Remember that scene in Total Divas, before totally turned into scripted shit, where they were telling Natalya that she has to smile more in the ring, and now it's all she does is have that fake smile on her face. Like, every woman has to smile, no matter what. Smile. It's like it'd be better if Rhea Ripley, was not the norm and rather the exception.
Well, she's also, again, her character and the way she's dressed and her whole overall persona should be totally different. She shouldn't be smiling and aloof to things like that. It's just ridiculous. But the one thing I will say is this: the reason why, remember when Retribution, I was like, oh, put the kibosh on it. This is just not working out. Let it die. They literally can't even let anything in the women's division die at this point, because there's no choice. There's literally nobody else.
Right.
And anybody, and I would honestly fear if I were on NXT and they're like, oh, we think you're ready. I'd be like, you know what? I don't think I am, actually. I want to stay here, because she was, there was a few people that were, what was it? Mr. TRM. He says Rhea Ripley was better in NXT, right? Yeah, absolutely. Totally was better in NXT. I really, really enjoyed her. I loved her look, and I liked the development of her character and everything. But, last year she did not have a good, introduction into it. You don't get many second chances, and it's not her fault. It's just the way that they present them. They're just two totally different characters. There's NXT, your NXT character, and your WWE one, which main roster one, I should say, because it's all WWE, but it's main roster versus NXT, and it's always the age-old question of like, why? Everybody, Shifty's right. Everybody was better in NXT. They truly are.
Brett Farmer with a good point here that I've said before as well. It's like, people may disagree with me. I do not disagree with this statement. The WWE has shifted to wanting any responses of any kind. They don't care that it's negative as long as their content is acknowledged on social media like this.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I kind of mentioned that last night when I did the post show with Roy Nemmer, that, it's like they don't even care anymore as long as like their like the Alexa Bliss stuff is like the most viewed YouTube video. Maybe people won't tune in to watch it, but they'll watch it on YouTube, but they're watching it because it's like, I'm glad I don't watch this anymore, as they hate watch it, of course. But eventually, you people will hate watch. And then eventually they'll come to that realization, like, why do I even watch this? I'm like, why am I even doing that? And then they'll stop. It's like there's such that's such a folly. That will be their folly if they're just trying to book things to get any type of reaction whatsoever, because that's not how you build a fan base. That's how you get attention, yes, but long-lasting impact, minimal.
Yeah, very minimal.
And in fact, it's the reverse.
Yeah, because you can get views on anything kind of in its own right go viral. And the reason why things like that are going viral is because they don't want to watch the show. So yeah, if you have to watch like a little clip on Alexa Bliss or whatever, whoever is being presented on social media, right? You're getting a slight glimpse of, but you're not experiencing Raw or SmackDown in its entirety. That's not, being involved with the product. So yeah, attention, always bad press is good press, that type thing. But it's not when you're looking at a weekly episodic, show that you're trying to get fans to consistently watch. I could sit through a YouTube video 5 minutes and then, whatever, but then I'll have to watch the rest of the product. Right. I have a choice. You know what I mean? But when you're watching the show, then you're like, oh, I don't want any more of this crap on my screen.
Can you believe that they had Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, on main event this week facing Shelton Benjamin without Scarlett?
Without Scarlett?
Yeah, they want to give Scarlett her own tryouts. They're going to break up that act.
Oh, that's lovely. That's going to be fabulous. And Watch out, honey.
And then speaking of how bad the women's division is, Naomi loses to Piper Niven. I can't call her Doudrop. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, she's Piper Niven. Sorry.
She gets squashed by Piper Niven last week, who's, wrestling in place of Eva Marie. And Piper Niven's more than happy to be there for Eva Marie. And now this week she's acting like, oh my God, I'm tortured by Eva Marie. And she's called Doudrop and all that stuff. And they break them up. But they broke up in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. So their two opponents, Asuka and Naomi, now qualify for Money in the Bank. They're in Money in the Bank because they beat that team. My question is, I know the answer already.
Oh God!
But if you're watching this with any lens of like, why is this person getting an opportunity at this match when they got fucking killed last week? Naomi's now in Money in the Bank after she got crushed last week. Now, where's the long-term planning there? It's just like, none. Oh, well, we needed somebody to lose to Piper, so you're on, and now it's like this week, now we have to care about you again. And they break up a team after a week. It's like, I'm not exactly thrilled that Eva Marie's back because I just don't see it. But like, wow, like I let it play out a little bit. Like that's something you should let play out.
Yeah.
Just even a little bit. See if there's something there.
Yeah.
A week.
Yeah.
They fly Piper Niven to the States, change her name to Doudrop, embarrass her.
They let people
and watch. Guaranteed they'll be back together next week.
Yeah.
Explain
something weird will happen. They let storylines that are just absolute crap draw retribution. They like elongate those things. But this they did. But it's the same thing that we said, a few weeks ago about them dropping and they, about them, letting go of a lot of women in the division. There was no need for that. You shouldn't have done that because you don't have the female talent. right now. You don't have like an abundance of them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they have Mia Yim just floating around out there. Mercedes Martinez. Like, those are two women that were in Retribution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. But they let things like that go for a really long time until you're like, oh my gosh, please kill me. But something like this, they're just, oh, no, it's done. It's done. Not a good look for Eva Marie or whatever they're thinking. I don't even know what the hell they're thinking.
I have no clue.
They really
I don't think they are thinking.
They aren't thinking. You know what's interesting too? They don't think just in general, but they really don't even think for the women.
Well, this is a company that kept adding on Verk on television for 7 weeks. Miserable fucking weeks.
Gosh. I don't. I wouldn't even want to work for them. And like if I were a woman right now, I would be like, no thanks. I'll find somewhere else where I'm appreciated.
Well, notice
it's got to be better than what they're dealing with now.
I guarantee there's gonna be a rash of people that they hire that know nothing about professional wrestling to even say no. And then, just to round off what they've done to the women on this television show, Nikki Cross.
Oh, what the hell? I did. What the hell was that? Really, what was that?
They're gonna turn her around. This must be Hurricane Helms' idea to turn her into the new shit superhero in training.
Ridiculous.
It's that. I mean, whatever. It's an idea. Nikki Cross wasn't doing anything anyway.
No, but this idea.
Like who are they writing this show for? Who are they writing the show for? Kids?
Do you remember?
They have Alexa Bliss throwing up black ink.
Right. So not really
hypnotizing people, almost making a man hit a woman tonight.
Do you remember?
So is that really kid friendly?
Now, do you remember when Ricochet was 2 years ago now? Maybe I don't even know. But when they were making him like superhero like, and we thought that was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. They've really taken it to
the real life superhero. That was just like a really bad moniker.
Yes, but this is 10 times worse.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we had the Hurricane, we had Mighty Molly. And that was just like silliness. It was like, like Hurricane Helms started doing that because, it's like that. It was almost like a goof that just caught on. But, like there was no, transition to it. It's like, okay, if you do something to Nikki Cross to make her, turn into the superhero or
oh my God,
then do it. But it was just like, it's like, okay, I'm in a mask this week.
Yes.
Big cape.
And we all know where it's going. At least we think we do. It's just going to be, they're really looking for this villain, good guy to go at it. And they're using the most obscure and obnoxious ways to go about it.
Maybe they hired M. Night Shyamalan to book Raw. Maybe that's what's going on. But instead of booking the Sixth Sense, he's booking the fucking Village. He's booking that. What was that? Oh, The Woman in the Water with Bryce Dallas Howard. Oh my God, that was a miserable shit movie. This is like M. Night Shyamalan with that movie with Mark Wahlberg where the trees were killing everybody.
You know what's so funny?
Remember that one?
Oh, I do remember that one. Do you remember? If you had to describe, and I do challenge people listening, if you had to describe WWE to somebody, would they be able to figure it out if you in the way that the environment is now? Think about it. If you're talking about, so I watched this, show, right? And it has a woman who throws up black ink, another one who's a super, you would not. What how would you describe it? And what they would not tell you that, I'm watching professional wrestling. They'd be like, excuse me, what are you watching? Because it's not the same show that we were watching a few years ago. And I have a very hard time now when people ask me, the people who make fun of me at work, they're like, oh, do you still watch that? I'm like, yeah, unfortunately I do. But they're like, why? And one of my friends, actually, she texted me about 3 weeks ago, and I forgot to mention actually on the podcast, but she said to me, she goes, holy hell, why do you watch this? Because her kids were watching, right? And she was like, why do you actively watch this? Are you actually entertained? And I go, no, I am not, but still. It's not this. It's not like you can't even call it a wrestling show.
Well,
it's just really bad. Like,
you know what's like funny is I was actually thinking tonight as I was watching the show, and when it probably happened to me during the Natalya and Tamina, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke segment, which was just so. I don't even know what Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose are supposed to be. Are they supposed to be faces or heels? But anyway, like last week they did a segment where they were taking photos and they couldn't concentrate on posing because Natalya and Tamina were working out in the ring. But this week, Natalya and Tamina are doing an interview, and they can't complete their interview because they were working out in the ring. Like, are Natalya and Tamina are they booking them as like the heels here? Like what's that about? Because
who the hell knows?
If they are, then Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are the worst book faces of all time. It's just so dickless. Like, I don't even understand it. It makes no sense. It's like you can't concentrate because of noise in the ring, while you're taking photos.
Oh God.
So we're gonna make noise in the ring while you're doing an interview. Well, one of you is actually wrong.
I know.
It's like ridiculous. Anyway, I was watching this piece of shit happening. Like literally, you could have just taken a picture of Bruce Pritchard's ass taking a shit on the screen. That's how. That's what I was looking at here, and I was thinking, like, I'm that guy now, where it's like, oh, it's not like it used to be. Wrestling is not what it was, when I was younger. It's just completely changed. But it's like, and every generation has that. Every generation says
of
that.
Course.
Like people have said that, going from Bruno to, Superstar Billy Graham to Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart,
right?
From Bret Hart to Steve Austin to Cena to whatever the fuck is going on now. People say that stuff, but like, there's always something from a previous generation to the current generation that you can recognize and see. Yeah. Okay, this is still wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different. Like it's not what it used to be, but I can still recognize, like, the tropes of professional wrestling in what I'm watching. I can't recognize anything resembling professional wrestling other than the fact that they have that every now and then this show just happens to feature a match with people.
Yeah. I've been watching.
This is not like, like selling and character work and character development. There's nothing here.
I've been watching
this doesn't resemble professional wrestling.
10 years now. Now it's been 10 years.
Yeah, it has.
Consistently. And it's not even a resemblance of what it was 10 years ago. It just went off the rails. Different. It's totally went off the rails.
Well, even 10 years ago, think about what they were doing. They were still living off of like their legends. Still. It's like everybody said that those chickens are going to come home to roost eventually. They did.
God.
They did.
Oh,
There's
boy.
No point talking about the rest of the show. Now, I guess I'll just say this. The Money in the Bank matches were for the most part pretty damn good here. I like Ricochet going over AJ Styles. You need Ricochet in that match to take the big bumps and stuff like that in Money in the Bank. And AJ Styles and Omos are going to be going against the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders look like the biggest sour grape jerk-offs of all time because they distracted AJ so he would lose the match, but whatever. Asuka, Naomi, Eva Marie, and Doudrop, that was a nothing match. Fine. John Morrison versus Randy Orton. Apparently that was a first-time matchup. John Morrison's also going to be in Money in the Bank to, take some punishment and do some flips, and just crush himself on the ladder.
That did shock me too a little bit. I did not realize that
we had a couple of upsets on the show tonight, which I really liked. John Morrison, Ricochet, but it's like Riddle accidentally cost Orton the match, but of course Riddle then gets in by having a really excellent match against Drew McIntyre. Really, really excellent.
And they have a good, and Randy Orton and Riddle are great. They really are. They really are.
I could actually see Riddle winning the Money in the Bank match with an assist from Randy Orton. I actually think Orton's going to help him to win.
Interesting.
Because he keeps begging Orton, like, you have any advice for me? No. Because Orton's going to see it as like, I can get this guy to do what I want, and eventually, maybe he'll use his character's mindset will be to think, I can get him to give me the Money in the Bank and give me the opportunity. And that could be the basis for their for their eventual demise as well, of course.
That could be,
but of course, because that
something.
sounds exciting and interesting,
Probably won't happen.
It's definitely not going to happen. So WWE, that one's for free. You can keep that one. It's probably better than any of the shit that they're thinking of anyway. But Riddle and Drew McIntyre was just a really, really well done match. But I gotta tell you, the MVP Kofi Kingston stuff, that's been like some of the highlights of the show. They've been like 3-minute segments, backstage segments that are just kind of throwaways, or they seem like they're throwaways. But now it came to roost. Like Bobby Lashley's gonna take on Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank with the title on the line. USA Network got their Hell in a Cell match. With Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods, and there was some good drama here.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard hitting. Xavier Woods really did a good job here. He's always he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. And Bobby Lashley was good in this as well. He sold a lot for him. But at the end, I really liked, they kept it simple, which is like something that they hardly ever do.
It's such a rarity.
The MVP gets in the cage as they're unlocking the cage to let them out, and just runs into the cage and grabs the padlock and locks the door. And then Bobby Lashley puts Xavier Woods in the hurt lock. Kingston desperately tries to get in the cage, can't do it. And he has to watch Xavier Woods just be locked in the hurt lock, and Lashley's pressing Xavier's face against the cage. I thought it was just that was really, really well done. That was really, really well done. So there's some things to celebrate on the show tonight. It wasn't all bad, but God, it's not the wrestling. It's not like most of the time the wrestling's fine.
Yeah. And you can kind of cover it up.
The stories that they tell are just awful. Now, it's like, if you just want to just like watch wrestling, I guess, like, you can live with it. The Alexa Bliss stuff is invading the actual wrestling matches, and that's unbearable. That's unwatchable. That shit's just gonna. If you want to watch wrestling, that's gonna kill your interest.
I look at it as excuse me. The wrestling is now. It should be like that. That shouldn't be necessarily, because it's entertainment business. So the storylines have to take kind of like a top priority. The wrestling now is just like a bonus at this point of just being good.
Yeah.
If you really did want to look at wrestling when house shows do open up again, go to a house show. Because then you're just going to get straight wrestling. You're not going to get anything where because very rarely does anything happen at a house show where it affects the storyline or anything like that, right? But
never, hardly ever. Unless it's like Madison Square Garden after like Christmas.
Yeah, like the one that we went to. But just in general. But the wrestling, I mean, because they have, it's just funny because they have the means to make it really, really good. They actually have the talent tools. That, they have the tools. They're all there. They're just not utilizing them properly.
They can,
and we said this for so long. Hulk Hogan, shit wrestler, great character. At the end of the day, he was, who doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at other people in the ring, no, he sucked. Wasn't the best. Yeah, you have a whole bunch of talent who's really, really good in the ring, but the stories are off.
WWE doesn't follow a story and match anymore. No working a body part, no selling. You should be able to mute the TV and figure out who the good guys and bad guys are. That's a great point, Brian. Brett with the really solid point there. That just everything's wrong about the product. It's like even I still think the wrestling is good, but that is definitely an issue. That is absolutely an issue. Goosey, a dewdrop is a term to describe women who are sexually romantically attracted to other women. That's that just makes it even weirder that they called her that. It's like so strange. It's like, oh my gosh, what were they thinking?
If that's your way of including LGBTQ plus storyline WWE, that's a horrible inclusion of that. So just FYI, if you are listening to this.
From Jerome Weiland, our intrepid reporter here, Jimmy Smith sucks on commentary. Bring back Tom Phillips or Vic Joseph. Yeah, that won't happen. Well, Tom's gone.
Tom.
Brett disagrees that the wrestling is good. It's not good. People are just numb because the difference in the wrestling product has changed subtly for years.
I mean, we said for a long time that the lack of like territories and the different styles and things like that have definitely
we've said that for a long time.
Definitely impacts the way that the wrestlers are. I just think that they have, but to kind of defend the wrestlers at this point, I think there is a lot of people who are technically very good and who do definitely execute moves very well, and I know it's more than just moves, right? I know it's just more than just
you think about how micromanaged the wrestling matches are. Like for every spot is planned out. There's no there's no room for ad-libbing even in their regular matches. Everything's planned out to the core, rehearsed, and they have the perfect camera angles for everything, and you get guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn coming in, and Nakamura coming in from other companies, and they have to learn the WWE style. There is a WWE style.
Yes.
And that does hamper the product big time because everybody has the same moveset. Everybody does the same shit. Nobody works the body parts like you're saying, Brett. But, there has to be something that, kind of keeps you coming back. And while there are definitely some holes in professional wrestling as a product, and just watching what happens between the ropes. Yeah. It's brutal. Sometimes, it's definitely not what we grew up on. It's definitely not what we grew up on. But they still do things well enough to keep me at least, to keep me from completely going off the rails.
I would say that even with the women,
I hate all the fucking flips. I'll tell you.
Oh
that.
yeah,
I hate Spanish fly.
But
I hate slams on the floor. I hate the planche. I hate it all.
But I will say this too: the women have significantly been better in the ring because they didn't wrestle at all. You hired models, you hired whomever to just be in the company. I mean, you had a Rarity and Trish Stratus, who obviously is iconic and everything else, but they totally shifted on that. They were actually hiring women who want to wrestle, right, and who have an interest in it, which I think is a huge plus. That you definitely have women in the ring who can perform very well, which is something that you did not see a long time ago. So, and that's another reason why too that I get so angry about the women's division, because you do have the talent there. There are some very talented women on the roster. They're just not being utilized, but their character sucks so much that it's I mean, and that's always been the reason too for me. Personally, somebody like Natalya, that's why she's not my favorite. Yeah, I think she's good in the ring, no question, but in terms of her character, I never really understood what Natalya really who her character is. So for me, yeah, she's great, but what does she really represent? What is Natalya? Right?
I never figured out what Natalya is. I never
but that's what we have. So many women who wrestle, and Naomi, I think she's fantastic. What are they doing with her? It's been nothing but inconsistencies, and she had the whole Jimmy Uso and things like that. But
yeah, WWE getting as big as it has since 2001 has made us, the viewer, unable to look anywhere else for what he's saying is a good professional wrestling product. There was such a drop off, after WCW and ECW got taken out, that AEW came around almost 20 years after that happened, and by that point, it's not that it's too late or anything like that. AEW is doing great, but it's just the time for a new company to get a foothold in this country would be shortly after the purchase. NWA TNA had a very good opportunity to do that, and they failed miserably because they listened to the wrong people, and it just didn't work out. They were hiring too many washed up people. It's I wish AEW could have come around a little earlier to wake people up and help them to find a good wrestling product. At least one that's an alternative to WWE. But it's WWE, as big as they are, they've turned a lot of people off from professional wrestling to the point where it's like, even if something new and exciting comes around, people aren't going to give it a chance because it's just like, WWE has just tainted their mindset forever. Like that's a problem. Like WWE is just, it's so big that like, if they're going to kill your interest in wrestling, it's going to be for wrestling as a whole and not just
their product.
Kind of stinks.
Although I will say AEW is mainstreaming now.
Yeah.
They're getting on MTV.
AEW's doing
they were mentioned on MTV.
AEW's doing a very good job. They are doing a very good job. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap this thing up and get on out of here. Make sure you come back on Friday. Mr. Roy Nemmer will be covering SmackDown. The SmackDown post show will make its return, so make sure you definitely check that out. We'll be back here maybe next Monday. I don't know. This is our last week of school. And it's like I'm taking the weekend off from all my responsibilities, and I might just extend it out a little more. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. We had a great group of people watching with us along tonight. So thank you everybody for tuning in, checking us out, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe to the channel, do the whole thing. And we'll see you soon. I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great week, everybody. Ciao.